playing around, man. Just get up.
I'm not playing around. There's swimming in the water.
45 years ago, director Ridley Scott took us into space where no one could hear us scream with 1979's Alien, and the modern sci-fi horror genre was born. Since then, the blueprint that Ridley drew has spawned over 8 iterations and boasts the likes of directors James Cameron, David Fincher, and actors like Sigourney Weaver, Bill Paxton, Idris Elba, and Michael Fassbender among its most illustrious alumni. So that begs the question, what's going to be in store for this year's installment, directed by Fede Alvarez and produced by Ridley Scott? Here's everything you need to know before you go see Alien Romulus.
Things hunting us.
Open the door, come on.
Run.
According to director Alvarez, these are the only inspirations and influences that will echo throughout this latest entry. Alvarez has confirmed that his latest installment will be an intersequel, meaning that it's set in between the events of Alien and 1986 Aliens, directed by James Cameron. Back in 1978, when Ridley Scott was first crafting Alien, he would have had no idea of its lasting cultural impact, but he did set out to do something that had never been done before. The first script was written by Dan O'Bannon and the rewrites by Walter Hill and David Geyer. I mean, the messy truth behind who actually wrote Alien is a subject for an entire video on its own. Either way, the Alien script had been languishing around studios for several years before it made its way to Scott and 20th Century Fox. Its production was driven in large part by the hugely successful Star Wars, and after that film dominated the box office, every studio in town was looking for their next sci-fi adventure. Alien, being a script that most folks liked and agreed would be excellent if it could be done professionally, was one that quickly shot up to the top of the pile. In many ways, Alien is an anti-Star Wars film. Whereas Star Wars was meant to have these grand stakes regarding the world and an idealized sense of justice, adventure, and the fight against fascism and tyranny, also, good versus evil, Alien was a bit more ragtag and terrifying. This was a grungy version of space featuring working class folks returning to Earth from an extended mission. These are the roughnecks or oil riggers of space, the exact opposite of the crew that you would expect to be leading some grand adventure or saving anything, least of all themselves. As much as we fall in love with the characters in the first scenes of Alien, these guys are the last ones to realize that they've been caught in a slasher horror movie. With an atmospheric score and practically nothing but silence for the first 10 minutes of the film, Alien drops the audience into a world obviously tailor-made for something very wrong to happen before any of them can figure it out. I mean, they could have listened to a woman, at any point, and things could have been vastly different, but, men.
Oh, yeah, she's absolutely right.
So what?
One of the quintessential parts of Alien is the fact that although this is a small crew, they're very characterized. There are little clues that tip off the audience to those on board with ulterior motives. Spoiler alert, it's Ash, played by Ian Holm, and he's an android. Oh, and he doesn't care if they all live or die. He's just trying to get the Xenomorphs back to the company that they work for.
It's a robot. Ash is a goddamn robot.
Although the title crawl tells us that the crew's intended mission is to refine ore, by the end of the film, you can only help but wonder if that was not merely a subterfuge for the real mission. This is a question that has been debated amongst moviegoers and on internet forums for literal decades. If nothing else, the main things that we can take from this iconic first entry in the franchise are that the fear of not knowing what you're up against and the slow descent into abject terror as they realize these creatures are the stuff of nightmares is what this film is really about. Oh, and for the love of chest-bursting aliens, please listen to women.
How come I gotta change my mind? All right, the
I'm not trying to change your mind, Dallas. I just want you to listen. Will you listen to...
Alien inspired an entire generation of filmmakers, and Aliens turned Sigourney Weaver into an action star. It remains a careful allegory about the violation of forcible impregnation and the essential uncomfortable marriage between life in its most primitive form and technology. Alien Romulus has pretty tough shoes to fill, but early buzz says it might be the best sequel we've had since James Cameron's Aliens. So how did we get to Alien Romulus? This new story found its way to theaters through its writer-director Fede Alvarez, who said that an early viewing of the original terrified him to the point that he thought about it for days after. Alvarez is known for the 2013 Evil Dead remake, which starred Jane Levy and is incredibly, fantastically bloody and gory. He also directed the certified fresh thriller Don't Breathe, which he also co-wrote with Alien Romulus co-writer Rodo Segues. Alvarez first pitched his Alien film shortly before Walt Disney acquired 20th Century Fox in 2019. He said at that time that it would be unconnected to the previous films in the franchise. Later that year, he cast Kaylee Spaney, Isabella Merced, David Johnson, Archie Renault, Spike Fern, and Eileen Wu. It was also announced that some of the folks who worked on the first two Aliens would be assisting Alvarez in his adaptation. Ridley Scott and the original producers were on board to help shepherd the film, and principal photography got started back in March 2023. In an interview that we had with the two directors earlier this year, Scott profusely praised how Alvarez's fresh new take on Alien was exactly what the franchise needed after 8 previous iterations.
You know, I was super happy, obviously, that you enjoyed the movie. They said it's great, and what can I say? You know, that was something that
I actually
always
said
stayed
you got
with
a
me
huge
forever.
you got a huge movie here.
So what should we expect? Set roughly 20 years after the first Alien movie and about 37 years before Aliens, the crew we find this time are scavenging a decommissioned space station, hoping to find the technology necessary to leave their doomed planet behind. The young group of ragtag columnists unwittingly awaken the most terrifying creature in the known universe. This time around, we follow our protagonist and heroine, Rain Carradine, played by Kaylee Spaney. Director Alvarez has intimated that Spaney was his first choice, stating that once he saw her headshot, he knew that she was his Rain. The character of Rain herself is an orphan along with her brother Andy, played by David Johnson. They were searching for a better life somewhere deep within the stars when she first joined the mining colony. There, she and her friends decided that they must take matters into their own hands to improve their dismal circumstances. The crew also includes Rain's ex-boyfriend, Tyler, played by Archie Renault, actor Spike Fern, who plays Bjorn, one of the mining technicians, and Eileen Wu is Navarro, the tech-savvy navigator and pilot of the utilitarian spaceship that our crew is using to explore the abandoned space station. While the crew of the original Alien was an unwitting participant, this crew is more akin to the 1986 version, a group seeking out something and biting off more than they can chew. Or maybe they just get chewed instead. So let's talk about the Xenomorphs. Scott also stated how he really enjoyed the Xenomorphs in Alvarez's version, stating that they were something akin to what he was doing in 1979, particularly the idea that the monster itself is not what's scary, it's the threat of the monster. It is its metamorphosis within the human form and how it can literally burst from the chest of those that it uses to incubate that adds to the absolute terror. Another exciting wrinkle this time around is that the audience already has all the information while the crew doesn't, something that Alvarez has hinted will play out in the film. There are some key elements that have been a part of the Alien franchise from its beginnings. The horror elements, some of the more bombastic action elements from James Cameron's Aliens, the technology and visualization of the Xenomorphs, their mythology, and of course, the old favorite of men not listening to women despite there being mounting evidence that they absolutely should.
Will you listen to me, Parker? Shut up!
And since this is an Aliens movie, we would have to also talk about androids. That's another aspect that folks are very curious about. Going back to the original version in which Ash was a covert android, folks are wondering whether or not that'll be a part of the story this time around. Is there someone within the crew who knows more than what they're letting on? Or are they using that to try and tame, capture, or utilize the Xenomorphs in some way? Something that we obviously know does not end well. Will that betrayal come to light? Although Rain looks like Ripley's stand-in, what are her motivations? Is she an idealistic heroine, as the trailers and early looks would lead us to believe? Or is she hiding something more sinister? Her sibling might give us clues. Joining Rain on her journey is her adoptive brother Andy. According to director Fede Alvarez, the two of them are actually the heart of the story. And it really is their sibling determination not to end up like their parents which motivated them to embark on this dangerous mission. One thing we know about the Alien movies is that their titles often indicate a key to their plot. Aliens, Alien Resurrection, Prometheus, Alien Covenant. Alvarez has also stated in several interviews that Romulus and Remus, the two founders of Rome, were a massive part of the lore behind this story in the siblings, Rain and Andy. In case you need a Roman mythology refresher, Romulus and Remus are mythologized to have suckled a she-wolf, which then made them strong enough to become great warriors, eventually founding Rome. But Romulus would go on to kill Remus so that he could become the supreme ruler. This makes us think that a final betrayal might be in the cards for our siblings this time, as well as maybe some suckling on a xenomorph. I mean, that is kind of a very gross theory, but an intriguing one nonetheless. So keep your eyes sharp and buy a ticket on Fandango, and if nothing else, please listen to women. It might save your life.
What did you say, Rick?
If you have any trouble, I'll be on the bridge.
That's all for us today. I'm Jacqueline. Be sure to check out Alien Romulus in theaters August 16th, and don't forget to rate and review the film on RottenTomatoes.com.